Hello there and welcome to a brand new series here on the channel. It's in Planet Zoo, but it's a new zoo, and it's a new zoo with a new philosophy. So let me explain what I'm doing. As you can see, I've just built my my first little bit of structure here, just as a demonstration of what I'll be doing in this zoo. So what I've learned from doing Green Valley Zoo and Waverley Zoo is that you end up going too big, and the projects can be a bit overwhelming, and they can be a bit repetitive, and at times not boring, but tedious. For example, in Waverley Zoo, I'm putting a river with lakes in, and you end up just doing the same repeated rock work over and over and over again, and it's fine, but it's not new, it's not creative. You're just copying and pasting, and you're just repeating patterns. So what I wanted to do was a zoo which is much smaller, almost not a petting zoo, but just on a much smaller scale, where everything is much more squashed, cramped. Every inch of space is important. So that's my basic philosophy, and because of that, what I'm going to do in this zoo, I want to be creative. I want to be more creative than the game allows me to be, in a way. So what I'm going to be doing, I am not ever going to let the public into this zoo. And the reason I'm doing that is because I'm going to be making paths out of things that aren't paths. And so the public simply won't be able to get into this zoo. And I think what that's going to allow me to do is to be much more creative with pathing, with getting height into the zoo, quirky little steps and things leading to areas where you just couldn't get pathways, in-game pathways to go. As an example, this is going to be my entrance to the zoo. So as you can see, it looks like a pathway, but clearly it's not. You can see this here, it's one of these slate roof gables. So it's this huge rooftop piece there. And all I've done is put it in the ground at the right angle, and it looks like a pathway. But obviously, as far as the game is concerned, it's not. But I think it looks fantastic. This is a wonderful texture. If this could actually be an in-game pathway, I would use this all over the place, because this is a fantastic texture for a pathway. But obviously it's no good in the game from a gameplay point of view, but that's not what this zoo is going to be about. This zoo is all going to be about the looks and creativity, and thinking of different ways to do pathing. Now obviously there is going to be some proper pathway in the game, because I'm going to need zookeepers and vets and things to be able to get around and look after my animals. But what this is going to allow me to do is to create quirky little pathways, viewing platforms and things that people just wouldn't be able to actually use in the game, but will look good. So that's the idea. I also don't want to use too many in-game items for things like this, fencing. See, I want to be more creative and do custom fencing, and custom other things as well, but mainly things like fencing. I just want to really try and create everything myself if I can. Sometimes that may be roofing for buildings, it may be building walls, I just don't know yet. Depends what's practical and what makes sense. But just general creativity. And it's going to be very compact, it's going to be squashed, there's going to be lots of foliage everywhere. It's going to look quite crowded, but that's the idea. I want it to look very small, a very intimate zoo. So that's my thinking. So as you can see, this is the start, and I'm just going to rock with it and see what happens. Let me know if you like the idea. Obviously by the end of the episode you'll get a bit more of an idea of what I'm doing, but hopefully that all makes sense to you. So let me crack on. I'll disappear now for a minute and see what I'm going to do next. Okay, a little bit more progress made. So I've gone with some rock work out the front here. Yes, it's a bit cheesy. But this is what I'm going for here with these large pictures of the animals here. You know, it may be cheesy, but actually you get this. The zoo that I visit the most here in the UK, it's a zoo called Howlett Zoo, and they've got a massive gorilla picture right out the front. So it may be a bit cheesy, but it's actually quite realistic. Now my zoo is going to be called Tiny Zoo. I know that's not particularly original, but I just kind of like it. It sums up exactly the idea that I'm going for. The zoo itself is going to be quite small, everything's compact, but it's also going to be very detailed, you know, tiny details. That was the idea behind the name. So I've made a very basic sign here. I kind of like this globe in the middle. I don't know why, but it looks cool. And the leaves and the writing, again, very simple, just connected to some rock work here. And then I've, you know, just gone with some basic rockwork structure, the moss, a few plants, nettles or whatever these are. What are these ones? Not nettles, currants, yeah, alpine currants. And then the trees at the side. So that's my entrance, yeah, nice and simple. Might be a bit more detail to do yet. I was thinking I might get some ivy on the on some of the rockwork as well. Now I put this, obviously again this is just a roof structure, so it's not an actual path, nothing can actually use it, but it looks cool. And I have put this building here, but do you know what, I'm actually gonna scrap this. So I'm gonna imagine that this is a zoo where you don't have to buy a ticket. It's something that you've already paid for out here somewhere, you know, and so you don't need a ticket office. I may be putting some restaurants and things in, or some cafes, but it isn't what I'm fussed about in this game, because there's not actually ever going to be people in the zoo. I don't need to provide things for them. So where it's appropriate, I may put a cafe in, I may put some toilets in, but I'm going to get rid of this. I'm not going to have a ticket office here. Plus it actually ruins the view. I want to be able to walk through here and see something more interesting than a brick building. So that's going to go. But you get the idea. So what I think I'm going to do in this first episode, I'm going to do an enclosure here to the right, I think. I'm not sure what the animal's going to be yet, but yeah, that's my plan. So I think that's what I'm going to crack on with now. Yeah, so let me go away and see what I can come up with. Right, so a bit more detail done out the front here. So as I said, I was going to put some ivy on here, and that's exactly what I've done. So you've got ivy growing on the main sign, even actually coming up through the sign here, and on these rocks over here, just a few little bits dotted around, some creeping out on the floor, and some of these little rocks just sunk in here as well. Done that on both sides. And as we go inside, like I said, the building is now gone. So this is my first habitat, but let me just show you what I've done around the back. Just continue the theme basically with the moss rocks and the ivy on here. Try to make it look as realistic as I can, the ivy, and I think I've done a pretty decent job. It's a lovely little thing, ivy. Looks really good when it's growing on the rocks like this. Try to get it sort of multi-layered to make it look a bit more 3D. So here you can see I've put bits further back than other bits, and yeah, I think it works pretty nicely. And then coming over here, so this is what this game is going to allow me to do, you see. So here I've managed to just build some custom steps here, which obviously in the game would be a nightmare to do, but I've simply just done it with some what are these? These are upside down stone pieces. They've actually got designs on the underside. I can't remember, they're those, you know, big sort of motif things. Just turned upside down and made into steps, and then another sort of custom path along here. And that's what this freedom of not using in-game paths is going to allow me to do. So yeah, really excited to be able to do this. So here's my first animal. It's the tapir. I think I always go for something like an aardvark or a tapir first. I think they're a good intro animal as you walk into a zoo. So let's discuss what I've done. A little bit of rock work at the end here. I quite like this actually, it's worked out really nice. So I used one of the big waterfall pieces sunk in here, got some of the rocks on here. I've made this sort of small vent here to make it look like the water's getting pumped out of there. I think that looks really nice. And again, the same rocks with the ivy and the moss. I think that looks really nice actually. Just a small area of water, they don't need too much, the tapir. So the enclosure's not huge. And this is the point of this zoo, is that I don't want everything to have a massive enclosure. Sometimes the game thinks animals need a lot more space than they really do. So I think, yeah, if you look at this, it's saying they haven't got enough space either swimming or land. I've seen tapirs in enclosures like this. You could easily have 2 tapirs in this enclosure. It's absolutely fine. So I've done a custom fence again along the back. Very simple, but I just enjoy doing things custom, you know, rather than using the in-game fences or the in-game barriers. Now obviously I will use the barriers when it's appropriate. So along the front here, there is no other sort of mesh in the game, so you have to use the barrier if you want mesh, and I did want mesh along the front here, but I've just done the custom posts and custom bottom along here as well. Just some simple wood along the bottom. Looks nice. And then what I'm going to do at the end, there's going to be a building here, obviously with that in. At the moment you've got your keeper just standing there because he can't go anywhere, but that's fine, he's doing his job. And then there'll probably be a shelter on this, in this corner here. That's why I've put this bit sticking out. So there'll be a shelter here for the tapir to go into. That's my plan. So yeah, let me crack on with that, and I will come back to you once I am done. Okay, I've got plenty done here. Just wanted to show you, I'll put a couple of lights out the front here to light the zoo up at night, so nothing major done out here. However, I have now finished our habitat, so let's come and have a look at what I've done. I want lots of trees in this zoo. I think the trees will really make it feel cramped, but in a good way, if that's possible. I really like this. I love that I managed to get the barrier up here, so just built a little wooden frame here so that people can stand up here and look down into the habitat. I quite like that. The willow tree over the water is always going to look nice, isn't it? And then just decorated the water with the usual stuff, the eel grass. You can now change the water. You can change how clear it is. I think at the moment I'm happy with this as it is, but in other enclosures I may well change the composition of the water. I made this little step thing here. I thought this looked quite nice. So this is just layers of rocks and a few wooden planks put in to make it look like a little sort of a very old step down into the water there. I quite like that. And then lots of rocks, lots of foliage in here, trees. This is one of the new trees. This is a scratching tree, a tamarind scratching tree. So they actually come up and rub on that, which is kind of cool. Obviously you've got the other enrichment items in here. You've got a ball and a feeder. I think there's a scratching post. No, you've got a food thing. You've got a box and a tyre. Yeah, I think... Oh yes, I did try to put a scratching post in, but I couldn't really fit it anywhere. So yeah, lots of foliage, fallen log here, and I think it looks really nice. It's nice and dense. You've got the rocks as well here. So what it means is that the actual navigable area for these guys is tiny compared to what it wants. Anyway, it's in the red there, so you can see that it's they can really only get through in tiny little areas, but it looks great. Quite frankly, and it looks exactly how habitat would look in an actual zoo. This is you know, in an actual zoo a tapir would come along here and it would be able to walk over this log. Now in the game it can't, which is annoying because it means that you've got all this space wasted, but it looks great, and in real life it would be part of the habitat that the animal could use. So I'm not fussed about all the statistics. I just want the habitat to look good and be usable. So I'm really happy with this. I will discuss what I've done down the end there in a second. I'm pretty happy with this as well. I've just put this vent all the way along the bottom of the along the edge of the path here, sorry. You see this all the time in this sort of place because obviously when it rains you get water gathering on the path and you want it to drain away. So that's what that is. It's a drain there for the rainwater to pour into, and it's, little details like that is what I'm focusing on in this zoo. So this is their bed, really basic, just one of these nice little sort of shack roof things. Basic structure, hay underneath. It really is simple. Lots of rock work as well. Obviously all of this would be fake rock work. With this one over here, I managed to sink the door in and colour it the right colour to match the rocks as well. So I'm pretty happy with how that looks. And then I've gone with a glass barrier here, so it's a bit dark, you see. So the animals, it's actually sort of the wrong way around because it's actually dark looking in than looking out. But the idea is that the animals can't necessarily see through the glass and see the people, and they feel a bit secluded in here. Whereas from the outside here, you can stand and actually look through and see them sleeping in their beds. So yeah, I really like how that's turned out actually with the wooden frame as well. I think that looks pretty smart. Got a little TV up here with some information on about the tapirs. And then around the back, I like this. It's a little bit random, but I kind of like this. It kind of adds. It doesn't serve a purpose, but it's obviously all done on purpose, sort of to make it look fakely worn out and old, you know. So I've done that on 2 bits there, which I kind of like. And then this is your basic backstage building. Again, I've done the door there, just sunk that in, and you've just got your keeper hut in there. And I've got a mechanic and a keeper and a vet just stuck on this bit of path at the moment. Now what I will do is bring that path out and actually put it underneath this fake path, because when I start doing more habitats over here, that's how the zookeepers will get around. So yeah, there we go. That's my first habitat. So hopefully you get an idea now of what this zoo is going to be about. So there's going to... Oh, hang on. I just realised that tree goes right through the roof there. I need to sort that out. I will do that off camera. But yeah, hopefully you get an idea of what this is aiming for. So it's going to be quite squashed, quite tight, quite narrow pathways. So for example, there's probably going to be a habitat right here, so there's not going to be big open spaces of parkland and trees and forests or anything like that. There's going to be a habitat there, habitat there, habitat there, habitat here. It's going to be pretty all sort of squashed pretty tightly together. That is the plan. But I'm really happy with how this first episode has come together. Please let me know in the comments if you like the idea of this zoo, and if you've got any ideas and suggestions. I do like to hear from you. So thank you very much for watching this episode. Hopefully it won't be long before I get the next one out. I'm quite excited to get building in this zoo. So I'm going to crack on with that pretty quickly, I think. So thank you, and I will see you in the next one. Bye for now.